Let's talk.
Giles Brown.
We're talking about star ratings, and something tells me that my star rating of producer has just bombed ridiculously. Rate this book, How Star Ratings Took Over the World. It is the independent book of the month. I am prostrating myself beneath the brilliance that is Benji Wilson. Benji, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How are you today?
Well, apart from having my ratings crashing going through the floor, faster than you could say, a FIFA red card decision. What can one do? Tell me a little bit about yourself and where the spark came behind this book.
Sure. So I'm a journalist and critic in the UK, and part of my day job as a writer is reviewing books and TV, and for more than a decade now, I've found myself pinning star ratings to other people's work. And as time's gone on, it's struck me that this system is not really a system at all. And also it's absolutely everywhere. I'm sure you and all of your listeners will have noticed, but it's sort of slipped and shifted from works of art to hotel rooms to mass culture, TV, film, radio hosts, to almost anything you can buy or assess. I was just the other day, I needed some toothpaste. You can't pick up a tube of toothpaste without first checking the star ratings to try and work out which is the best tube of toothpaste. And then, of course, as everyone will know, once you've bought your toothpaste, you're immediately asked to rate your choice from 0 to 5 stars. And, I would say, your listeners may dispute, but almost anyone who has bought, done, used anything, Amazon, eBay, Uber, in recent years will have found themselves, at the very least, being asked to leave a rating and quite possibly being rated themselves. And so when I felt sort of overwhelmed by the amount of stars everywhere in my job, in my life, I thought, I wonder how this came to be. Yeah. And that's what the book is for.
And here's the thing. apart from my hideous dating profiles where I get rated as never mind anything, but you see what I'm saying here? It's the fact that when did we start becoming critical? Or, because this isn't the real world, is it, Benji? Because, if you have a critique of somebody, you go there and you put a thought and you go, well, I see what the person was trying to do. Like a restaurant review. I used to read the Time Out restaurant reviews. And you sort of make the case and then you destroy them in threes just by saying it was memorable for all the wrong reasons. But, stars is a subjective way of doing it, isn't it?
Well, the principle of it all is a good one. Like so many things are sort of founded in the internet. The idea that you can go and ask everyone who's ever been there or used this thing, visited the restaurant, what's it like? It is great. It's like the ultimate form of word of mouth. Unfortunately, what's happened is that over the years, it's become hacked, it's been misused. As you suggest, some people use it just to sort of vent their spleen and they're feeling a bit angry that day. Other people use it with more sort of criminal intent. There's lots of examples of people blackmailing restaurants saying, or bars saying, if you don't give me some money, I will review bomb you with lots of one-star reviews. And the nature of the system is so all-encompassing that for small businesses, for individuals, a low rating, for authors, dare I say it, a low rating can be really damaging. So, yeah, it's been slightly... the whole system is slightly perverted over the years, I would say.
Yeah, and I still think stars are subjective because who says? You might be producing the best Vietnamese water buffalo fillet that has been seen this side of Hanoi, and those who have come from North Vietnam will go, that's amazing, that's just like a taste of home. However, our jaded Western palates might go, well, it just tastes like a bit of cow and go 1 star, where in fact because if you don't have the background, who are you to review such an object of a delicacy?
Well, absolutely. So the problem with the system, there are many, many of them. One of them is just as you've described, which is that, let's say it's a book on Amazon you're reviewing, and everyone will have seen this thing where you go down and you'll see a 1-star review, and what the person is saying is, didn't turn up on time or terrible packaging. That's not a review of the book. That's a review of something else altogether. Similarly, in restaurant reviews, just as you're describing, if someone's feeling a bit hacked off and they've had a bad evening, they might well say, oh, well, the waiter was awful, when what they really mean was, I was in a bad mood and I just thought I'd taken out on this person. So it's absolutely the case that a subjective measure is not necessarily a good one. However, loads and loads of subjective measures all put together gets you into a sort of wisdom of crowds arena, whereby actually you do end up learning something if lots of people have given it a rating. So it's a fault, as I say in the book, it's it's one of those least worst systems. It's by no means perfect. There's lots of things that are wrong with it, but in some ways it's better than nothing at all.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking about those great, I love my history. I love my art history. I'm just thinking of the great artists of our time, Van Gogh, too many Picassos, that's cool, call that a vase, it's, where are the ellipses?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying here? If people, people go, oh, well, because a lot of people won't understand it. And, and as we've seen with various referendums and stuff, sometimes people get it. We're talking about a nation, remember, who famously voted a Boaty McBoatface.
Yeah, well, there's classic examples of people choosing to answer the wrong question, if you see what I mean. And there's, again, if you're interested in works of art, there's so many examples on the internet of people going to see, I don't know, Michelangelo's David, and saying of one of the greatest works of art all the time, it was chaos, it was really busy, just to see a small man with tiny balls. That's one review I found. So, yeah, that's an example of where I think that person was probably trying to be funny rather than just being a bit silly.
Yeah, either that or he has in fact crashed my Tinder profile, but there you go. So, I mean, how do you subjectively then? I mean, presumably the point is are you trying to encourage, or are you trying to, as you said, it is the least worst system, isn't it, I suppose, in rating stuff?
Well, in my take on where this comes from, I do a history, I look into the psychology of all the endless ratings, and a lot of it comes around because actually commercially it suits a lot of these big organizations to amass consumer feedback. It's a sort of cheaper form of market research. And what I ask is, what's in it for the person doing the rating? I.e., when you and me are filing our review of the restaurant, of the book, or whatever, why? Is there any reason for us to do it? My conclusion is that although there are manifest faults, as I've said, with the system, what could replace it is probably worse. And by that I mean AI being an example of where if you say, okay, well, I don't trust what all these humans are saying. If you ask the computer, then you get into a slightly weird spiral of AI summarizing all of the ratings. And then 6 months down the line, that's AI summarizing the AI summaries. And suddenly you're into a thing where actually you're getting a recommendation from no one except a robot. And I think that would be worse than where we are now.
And you asked why people rate experiences like this. I suppose for many ways, it's having a say, isn't it? For the same reason that people used to go onto TV audiences and stand in the background because they were on TV, back in my 70s childhood. And it makes you feel, I wasn't that sad. It makes you feel that, you've got an investment into the product, the service, the book, the artwork, even a bad or good one. But you think, well, I helped, I've got my tuppence worth. And we like to get our 3 tuppence worth in it, don't we?
Absolutely right. That is another chapter in the book in which I talk about in this sort of age where people increasingly feel siloed and like no one's listening, and you'll notice how this goes into politics, that whole thing of, they don't care about us. Those 3 words, have your say, another 3 words, your opinion matters, that it gives people a feeling of agency in a society when often they can feel like no one is listening. Now, that may sound slightly overblown, but what I've found in the research for the book is that if you ask people about ratings, reviews, a lot of them will go, I don't do that. I don't read them. I'm not interested. But actually, what you find is that very often they do from time to time. And also then when they get into the reviewing cycle of leaving a little review and they notice someone goes, that was a good review, or Google comes back to you and go, you're a top local reviewer. Oh, yes. Then they have the feeling of, okay, well, maybe people are listening to me, and everyone likes that. So I found there are a lot more reviewers out there than will necessily admit it to you.
You see, it's the whole thing that you get because they drag you in. It's a little dopamine hit as well. I do matter. I do matter. You do love me, but also. And this is, and again, it's not to read too much into it, but, we went through that thing 6 years ago, of which we cannot speak anymore, i.e. a pandemic. And a lot of people were shut up in their homes and didn't get to connect with people for a very long period of time. And a lot of people kind of like that because it means you don't have to face that angry restaurant manager face to face.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you can just go, boom, 1 star or half a star if it gives you the option. But you see what I'm saying? There's that lack of, and sociologists will do this until the proverbials come home. But that it is much easier, as we have found on the internet, to insult, to give bad reviews, to give good reviews as well. But you see where I'm going here? It's always to be Caesar, and the gladiatorial combat that is the internet, and you're there with your thumb poised and going, I haven't got an investment in this one, thumbs down.
So again, you're absolutely right. During the pandemic, the numbers for reviewing and rating went berserk. The reason being that, first of all, people were stuck at home. So if they wanted to buy anything, to get it through the internet, it had to be delivered. And then in the whole thing of wanting to buy anything, wanting to choose something, suddenly the option to ask someone or chat with a mate or be told, I tried on these socks, they're amazing, you should get them, that was gone as well. So it turned out that the only way to buy something and then to find out what you should buy was sat on your own in a room looking at ratings and reviews. And for that reason, they went completely crazy. And everyone was reviewing, rating, having their say, choosing, all via this, as we've said, slightly ungainly medium of 1 to 5 stars.
Here's the thing, and again, this is maybe a little more serious, but in a world where and I went through a phase when I was living in what you want to call it, it was either South Chelsea, otherwise known as Battersea or whatever, Battersea. Battersea, yeah, and then it got to St. Reed, and we had to give up at that point, the thing was, everything was being rated, and I went through a period. I mean, not like most of them are grown up now, but my friends' kids, they were all trying to get into the decent schools, an Ofsted report, and so we rate everything in our daily life, don't we? And we might even go around even more facile with that. I mean, I know it's a bit of a bigger subject, but we do rate everything. Everything is under a system, and we decided to send our little Tristan or little Rapunzel, whoever it's going to call, to a school, and that is a star rating as well. I mean, it's not as facile as do I like these socks, Benji, but it's got do I have a point here?
Yes, you absolutely do. I mean, hospitals, schools, lawyers, doctors, all of these things are under the same system. And you can see how when you move from, rating a purchase, a product, to people being the product, then you've got a bit of a problem, because suddenly you're in a realm of someone going, I hate my teacher. Look, here's a forum called Rate My Professors, which is a real thing, where I can go online and say, that person was awful. Now, absolutely. I mean, there are ones for doctors, and that is disastrous, because you're judging someone in a way that's quite sort of, it's like a sort of apocalyptic sci-fi, and you're saying, I just don't like them. It's out there in public, and that can really affect their livelihood. And as a result, coming back to education, as you've talked about, things like Ofsted ratings, which are a 5-stage system, a bit like the 5-star system, that's led to, you'll remember the case a few years ago, but that's led to head teachers, I'm afraid, taking their own life because they were so worried about being assessed in this way. And suddenly you can see that something that may seem facile is really serious.
I'm just thinking back in, again, 70s, 80s education in the grammar independent school system. None of my Latin teachers would have stood a cat in hell's chance, because they would have been gone. They would have been fried before you could even get your marker pen out. But never mind. What are you hoping that people are going to? I mean, if we were talking American, what do you think that people will learn from your journey, Benji?
I hope that it'll cause them to think a little bit. I'm always interested in sort of structures that underpin things that everyone's doing and they don't quite realize it. And with the star ratings, what I found is that everywhere, it's baked into some of the massive commercial giants that we all use all the time. It's Airbnb, Trustpilot, it's all round the place. You look at any advert and someone is saying, look, this got 5,000 ratings of 5-star. That must be a good thing. Suddenly, you're then talking about things like societal trust, things that really do matter to people. And I'm always interested in the micro, little things, stars, and how it links into the macro, i.e. who believes what they're being told. And hence, I think that the star rating system, people who've look are saying that, there's a lot of things. Oh my God, I did not realize how deeply embedded it is in almost everything we do. And it makes you think, in whose interest is that? And that's what I hope the book will show, that actually there's been a lot of people who are well served by the star rating system. It makes a lot of companies a lot of money. And it's slightly insidious in the way it's become so ubiquitous.
The book is called Rate This Book, How Star Ratings Took Over the World. It is by Benji Wilson, talking to you today. Listeners, if you click on the link in our virtual bookstore, it'll be winging its way to you. If people want to follow you and say nice things, or indeed send you 5 stars, tish boom, where can they find you, Benji?
The book is available in all good bookshops. I wouldn't want to highlight one ahead of the other, but we all know which ones are largely predicated on star ratings, and they sound rainforest related. And it's out now. And I was, again, I'm not immune to the system I'm describing, which is in the book. And right now, I always ask people, yes, please do rate my book, because authors rely on the system as much as anyone else.
Yes, indeed. That famous South American reserve system, the Orinoco. Right then, Benji, it's been a pleasure to speak to you. Do you do the social media thing as well? Can they find you on the socials?
Yes, I'm on Instagram as the Italian midfielder Benito Wilsoni, and I'm on. Yeah, you can see that's a classic example of setting up a handle some years ago and then being stuck with it.
Yes, indeed.
So Benito Wilsoni, I'm out there, and I'm also out on X, where I'm Benji Wilson.
Benji, it's been an absolute pleasure. Sorry, that's made me laugh. It's a cross between Paolo Maldini and Benito Mussolini, so that gets my vote every time. The book is called Rate This Book. Give it 5 stars. Benji Wilson, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you today.
Many thanks.